This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
Tom, I want to start. I know you're kind of like a nature and an outdoors guy. What did you think of the Northern Lights in Fayetteville this weekend, man?
Well, thanks, Ty. I didn't really get to see them. I think we were at the ball game the first night of the Mississippi State series on the Friday when we got to talking about it. And I saw pictures that people were sending in, but I never really got to see them. I mean, I think there might have been too much, what's it called, light pollution or something. So I just didn't see them. I wish I had.
It's my little sister, or I guess my older sister, sent me some pictures. I didn't see it firsthand, but some of the pictures that made its way from Northwest Arkansas and really all across the United States were really cool. Just the sight to see. I guess it was a sight to see Arkansas pitching this weekend, Tom. Not necessarily a good sight for the vantage point of Arkansas fans. Hagen Smith is under such a microscope right now. Even with 11 strikeouts, he's. I saw some people still heavily scrutinize his performance. I know it's a little easier to do that with Molina and Tigert, who didn't make it through 2 innings. Was this weekend the final straw for Dave Van Horn? Is this weekend going to cause him to change up his starting pitching for A&M, in your opinion?
You know, that's a great question. And, of course, they actually publicized that they were going to look into that before last week. And I remember talking to you guys and at first thinking, nah, they wouldn't do it. And then I think by Thursday I thought, I think there's a little bit more than 50% chance they would do it. But they ended up not doing it. And, Gage Wood, he pitched twice. A great outing on Friday, striking out guys with the bases loaded, or whatever that situation was. It was pretty dire, and he struck some guys out when Gackle left him a little bit of a mess. But he also gave up a home run and a lot of traffic in his second appearance. So you have to break down each guy and what's the maximum we want to get out of a guy, and if they think Gage Wood can give them 2 good outings on a weekend, then they might stick with this plan. But if they feel like he could give them 5 decent innings and a start, what's the value in that? So it's a very difficult decision. If you move Mason Molina to the bullpen, what could he do? How much length could he give you? Could you piggyback him on top of, say, Tigert? So there's a lot of mixing and matching. It was a very intriguing weekend in that for the first time, really, the pitching wasn't there like we'd been coming to expect. And yet the offense, which had been derided for several weeks, had to answer, and they did. So I think Dave Van Horn came out of the weekend feeling good that when they really needed their offense, they came through, and you're seeing a few more guys start to hit. And because I think if you're an Arkansas fan, you were concerned that you get into the postseason and you run into a hot team like TCU last year and you're not scoring. Mm-hmm. You can't stay in the game. And so that was the question, and maybe they started to turn a corner.
And, Tom, you kind of alluded to what Dave spoke to in the postgame press conference. They were almost like waiting on Hagen to have a bad game because, it's bound to happen, right? You can't expect perfection and greatness, even as good as a college pitcher as he is all the time. So there is a lot of truth to what you just said about it's good to see the hitting step up for this Arkansas baseball team as they head into this weekend in College Station. 1 win gives them the SEC Western Division title. I think they're going to get at least 1 win. Tom, the question I have with Tennessee hosting South Carolina, with Kentucky traveling to Vanderbilt, you think there's an outside chance that they could win the whole SEC with the performance of College Station? Or you just kind of expect them to maybe get a win or 2 this weekend?
Well, it's an outside chance because they'd have to win 2 more games than Kentucky. Well, that would be to get the number 1 seed. Mm-hmm. They could win 1 more game than Kentucky and tie for the overall SEC title. In fact, if Kentucky lost twice and A&M beat, well, never mind. There's so many scenarios, but yes, they could still wind up number 1, or they could still wind up with a co-title, but I think getting the number 1 seed is going to be a little bit more difficult. And honestly, I tried breaking down the scenarios to say they've clinched a top 4, and there's too many things that could happen where they would wind up in a tie with Georgia. Well, actually, a lot of things would have to happen for that to wind up in a tie, but for that to happen, to break the tie, you'd have to break the tie at the very top, which would probably be A&M and Kentucky or A&M and Tennessee. And to break that tie, you'd have to break the tie for Arkansas and Georgia, and I think it would come down to a coin flip. So I didn't even dare to start trying to write about that because it was so complicated.
Tom Murphy's our guest on the McLarty-Daniel Hotline with Whole Hog Sports, the Arkansas and Democrat-Gazette. Tom, SEC basketball opponents have been released. I was disappointed to not see Kentucky next to Arkansas's home schedule. In fact, I mean, you got Texas and Bama, but it's not like a great home schedule with going on the road to Tennessee, Kentucky, and Auburn. What did you make of the release yesterday, and were you surprised that Kentucky was not a home team this year?
Well, and I saw your disappointment. But, yeah, it would have been very easy for the SEC schedule maker to do a home and home for Arkansas and Kentucky. But I think, haven't they had one the past 2 years?
Correct.
And so they just don't ride those for many years. It doesn't feel like. And then obviously Arkansas now adds Texas with a home and home, and has Missouri and LSU, I believe, is its other two, which are pretty good, double opponents for Arkansas. But yeah, it would have been really neat to have Kentucky here. But of course, there will be the Cal returns to Lexington deal, which will create a lot of hype for that week.
And on that week, Tom, is it a bridge too far for me to say that that's going to be the most anticipated, not just SEC game, but college basketball game of the season? I guess it. I mean, if Arkansas is not any good or Kentucky's not any good, it will deteriorate that thought. But like, we get rivalry games every year. I know that's a rivalry game, but this is one of the more unique games that we've had in college basketball based on the coaching change. I mean, you got Kentucky fans saying it's the biggest game since Pitino came back. Where are you kind of on that sense and that feel of when that game is announced, how big it's actually going to be?
Right, and yes, because a lot of things can happen between now and then. It could lose its luster. Mm-hmm. But for right now, in spring, if you want to say, hey, yeah, that could be one of the biggest games of the year, especially if both teams are flying. Clearly, there's some ACC stuff that'll generate great hype and Big Ten. But as for SEC games, it's hard to create one or think of one because of Kentucky's huge fan base and the hype machine involving a national name that there would be a bigger game than that.
Tom, I want to talk some football with you. Tom Murphy's with us here on the McLarty-Daniel Hotline. Sam Pittman, Hunter Yurchek, I know they're in Jonesboro last night, taking pictures with babies and doing that whole thing. Forest City today, and then Cal's going to be in Little Rock tonight at the Hall, so I know people are excited to see Cal. I don't remember if Pittman's going to be there or not. But this upcoming football season, I was just kind of taking a look at their schedule. We're 107 days out from this upcoming season. It's crazy that it's almost here. I know you're a guy that looks at the schedule like way in advance. Do you have a game or games that you're really intrigued by this upcoming year that you think will have a pretty crucial impact on maybe how Arkansas's football season plays out?
Yeah, the amount of thinking I've done on this, clearly the Oklahoma State game in week 2. Mm-hmm. If you're Arkansas, you've got the built-in extra days now because of the Thursday opener with UAPB. So there's a lot riding on that game. Can they be a better road team? I mean, look, people got frustrated. It was a rough season. But I'll be doggone if they didn't go on the road, the LSU game and then the Ole Miss and Bama games, they were all close games. And those were good teams. I mean, yep. You're looking at double-figure win teams on those games. So they competed on the road. And then I think the brutality of the schedule and a number of other factors kind of bled in to lead to what happened at the very end, with the outlier being that win at Florida, which it's just really stunning to think that of all the teams Arkansas brought to Florida, that one brought home the first win there. But That game, yeah, the opening SEC game. I'm not looking at the schedule. What is it? Is it Auburn this year? Or
it's Auburn on the road this year, Tom.
Yeah, that's a huge game. So I would say the Oklahoma State and Auburn games pique my interest, and then obviously Texas and things down the road. But you know what? It sets up well for them. They have open days before LSU and Texas.
Yep.
And if they can field a good team and ride this with some confidence, there's a chance they could have a good season.
And not just Arkansas football that I'm looking forward to. I mean, Tom, in the first couple weeks of the season, we got Clemson, Georgia. We got Notre Dame at Texas A&M. We got LSU at USC in Vegas. And we got Texas at Michigan. I mean, first 3 weeks of the season is going to be a lot of fun for this upcoming college football season. I can't wait. And initially, I brought up Sam Pittman and Hunter Yurchek talking about the road show. Of course, Arkansas's football coach and the athletics director. We're going to have Hunter on tomorrow. I'm intrigued by him. What do you think when – and I wasn't in Jonesboro. I haven't talked to anyone that was there last night. I'm trying to get some feedback from people this morning. I mean, these next few days, is Cal still the number one thing they're getting asked about, and maybe football and basketball or football and baseball are second, or do you think we've kind of shifted gears with how close we are to postseason baseball?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I'm sure Hunter Yurchek will get the gamut of those type questions. Baseball. Will they get a home regional? Will they get a home super regional? Big time questions, and then. Football is the big moneymaker, and I think they know they've got to get football back on track and competitive. And I'm planning to do a piece this summer on what that will take because it's a tough equation to try to solve. So, I mean, it's where each individual fan is in their thinking. But Cal's certainly a huge story. Arkansas baseball a big deal. If football could be competitive, their athletic department's in pretty good shape. They just got to get the NIL money, to match. But yeah, I am so hyped about college football too. That Labor Day weekend, because Arkansas is playing on the Thursday, is that not going to be fun to come back on Saturday and just veg in front of the TV and Sunday and Monday? It's just going to be fun.
Tom, think about us because again, we were going to be in Little Rock that kind of whole weekend. Now we get to go down Thursday and then relax on Friday and Saturday and through Monday, basically. And just, as you said, veg in the lazy boy for those next couple of days. Now, there won't be NFL that weekend. It'll be the following weekend. Thursday, September the 5th, is the opener with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. We'll get a chance to hear the NFL schedule tomorrow night at 7. I'm curious to see what the Packers looks like. How are you feeling about your Atlanta Hawks this year, Tom, before we let you go in this upcoming schedule release and season?
Well, the Hawks won the NBA lottery, so that's cool. But
no, what did I say? Falcons, my bad.
The Falcons, I'm just going to kind of I'll be rooting for them, but I'm going to reserve my heart until I see a better product on the field. And, the schedule release had the Falcons hosting the league, had the Falcons hosting the Cowboys on Monday. And I'm like, well, why would you do that? And I was getting pretty excited, but I think that's not the case. I think the Cowboys have the Browns. So I don't know who we will have on the opening weekend, but I'm just not going to – we had such a chance last year, and we just blew it with like a home loss to the Buccaneers. So I'm just not going to get overhyped until they start to show me something.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.